Hi friends, welcome to Crack GP. We are back with yet another very important lecture by continuing the current affairs series. So we'll bring out to you the current affairs that are important for the upcoming examination, that is NABARD Grade A, Grade B, and also these are important for the examination like RBI and SEBI. So the news article that we have bring out is from 23rd and 24th October 21. Okay, so let's begin. So the first news article is $1 trillion global in solar investment by 2030. Very, very positive news. So what is there in the news? Let's see. The fourth General Assembly of the International Solar Alliance (ISA) was held virtually between October 18 and October 21. Okay. So it was presided by Union Minister R.K. Singh. A total of 108 countries participated. So see, these are very important, right? So I'm marking it, including 74 member country and 34 observer. So how many member country does ISA have? 74. Where is the headquarter? Gurugram. Okay, it's Gurugram. Gurugram, India. Then 23 partner organization and 33 special invitee organization also participated. Special invitee. Now, US Special Presidential Envoy for Climate John Kerry delivered the keynote address. Right? So US was also part of it. Okay, so let's move forward and let us see few more details. So ISA Assembly gave a green light to the One Sun. Now, what is One Sun? Political declaration for the launch of Green Grid initiative One Sun, One World, One Grid at COP26. So COP26 is in meeting that is going to happen. So the Prime Minister will travel for this meeting. So in the next weeks, we will see the details of COP26 coming in, right? So Assembly approves a solid action agenda to mobilize $1 trillion in solar investment by 2030, including a blended finance risk mitigation. So $1 trillion in solar investment by 2030 by all the countries. ISA forged partnership with Bloomberg Philanthropies and Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet. So very important, Bloomberg Philanthropies and Global Energy Alliance. Then, new ISA program launched on management of solar photovoltaic. PV is photovoltaic panels and battery usage, waste and solar hydrogen program. So everything about renewable energy, right? Then the International Solar Alliance also announced a partnership with Bloomberg Philanthropy to mobilize 1 trillion in global investment for solar energy across ISA member countries. So partnered with whom? 1 trillion global investment, but ISA partnered with this Bloomberg Philanthropy, right? The two organizations will work with World Resource Institute WRI to develop a solar investment action agenda and solar investment roadmap, which will be launched at COP26. So see, India is playing a very big role with Paris, with whom this ISA was launched, right? So the next news article is 152 Saksham centers. Okay, so what are Saksham centers? So I think you already know it still. As a part of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, a total of 152 centers for financial literacy and service delivery Saksham centers across 77 districts of 13 states launched under Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Rural Livelihood Mission of the Ministry of Rural Development during 4th and 8th October 2021. Okay. Center for Financial Literacy would act as a one-stop solution to a single window solution for basic financial needs, right? So the main objective is to provide financial literacy. Okay, then these are trained CRPs as provided 6 days residential training at Google Self-Employment Training Institute. So see, it's this is going to play a big role in capacity building in the rural areas. In the rural areas. And this is done in which scheme? It's Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana, National Rural Livelihood Mission. So why not let us see few more details about that scheme, right? So let's see. So Deen Dayal Antodaya Yojana is a centrally sponsored program launched by Ministry of Rural Development in June 2021. So I hope that you already have watched a video on Ministry of Rural Development in our YouTube channel where we have explained everything about this ministry and we have covered all the schemes that are under this ministry extensively. If you have not to watch it, it's an old video, maybe 2 months old, but it is still relevant for the examination. Very, very relevant for the examination. Okay. So, what's the objective of this scheme? To eliminate rural poverty through capacity building, right? So, it's not like giving the money and simply giving it without any objective. No, it is through capacity building. So, people are given the financial knowledge and then so that they build the capacity and come out of the poverty, right? So, let's see a few uh, outcomes of the Deen Dayal Antodaya Yojana. Okay, so 10 years since NRLM was first launched, India has largest network of women across SHG across the world, self-help group. As on May 2021, there are 6.9 million SHG in India with 75 million members across 7,83,398 villages. You know, do I have to mention that you will have to by heart this line? Absolutely not, right? Please, please, please by heart this line because this is very important line and you can use it in your descriptive writing. So then the mission has achieved significant success in improving the last mile delivery of the credit service through the agency of SHG. Then the NRLM has enabled rural families to negotiate for greater access to essential services such as education and healthcare. It had an impact on food security, improved school enrollment, access to land for women to grow food, on gender issue with women groups, talking on issue like dowry, child marriage, discrimination against girls. So it's not just about the financial literacy, it's about much more than that, right? So you see in the last line, it is already explained. So this type of schemes really help the rural people to come out of their poverty and also compete in the modern world. So with this, let's move to the next news article, that is guideline for PLI scheme for specialty steel. We have seen in the recent weeks the PLI scheme was approved for the specialty steel, but now the guidelines has been issued. Okay, so what's the guideline? So the guideline is India is expected to become 42 million tons by the end of 26-27. See, India is already in top 3 or top 4 position after I think China, Japan, uh, in terms of steel production, right? And steel is very important for infrastructure building, right? So we as a layman, we may not see the usage of steel in day-to-day life, but steel is something that builds infrastructure. Okay, so it's like one of the very important capital good. Okay, so very important. If India is moving ahead in the production of steel, then yes. So on the other hand, it can be attributed that if the local consumption is increasing, then infrastructure is getting built. Right. This will ensure that approximately 2.5 lakh crore worth of specialty steel will be produced and consumed in the country. Consumed in the country. Look, I just told you, consumed. Okay, so consumption is very important in the country. So if you manufacture steel, right, you make steel and export to other countries, that is not going to help. Maybe in terms of export, the numbers will look good, but no. Steel is something that should be consumed at least 90% in India because that will show the capital infrastructure getting increased, right? So steel is not being used in day-to-day life by you and me, but it is a good that is being used by the used for the infrastructure building. So similarly, the export of specialty steel will become around 5.5 million tons as against the current 1.7 million tons specialty for getting forex of rupees 30,000 crore, 33,000 crore. Okay, export. If the export is increased, then the forex foreign exchange will get boost. Right, as simple as that. The five category of specialty steel which have been chosen in the PLI are very important. You cannot afford to forget. Coated plated steel products, high strength wear resistant steel, specialty rails, alloy steel products, and steel wires, electrical steel. Right? Let's move forward with the next news article, that is 7 mega integrated textile region and apparel PL Mitra Park. So in the last week, you have seen the news about PM Mitra Parks, where the Prime Minister has announced uh, or launched 7 parks. Now, this is in continuation to that current affair, right? This was announced in Union Budget 2021-22 by the central government. So PM Mitra Park will be developed by a special purpose vehicle which will be owned by state government, government of India in public-private partnership mode. Okay, because see, this park will be made in some states. So government of India along with the state government through a special purpose vehicle will be made, because when government changes, it's very tough for central and the state government to coordinate because of political difference, right? So what happens that time, the developmental activities comes down, and that's why when there is an arrangement like special purpose vehicle, it's the political difference doesn't affect the developmental works to the extent where the arrangement where the special purpose vehicle is not there. Okay, the efficacy is high, and with the help of special purpose vehicle, even if there is a political difference, the efficacy of the difference is low, because who is going to implement the special purpose vehicle as a standalone organization is going to implement and will coordinate between the state and the central government, right? So again, this extra information is going to help you in the descriptive paper. So envies to help India in achieving United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 9. Okay, what is goal 9? Build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industrialization, and foster innovation. So this is inspired by the 5F vision: farm, farm to fiber to factory, okay, to fashion to foreign, means export. So this is the 5F vision. Again, I don't think you can afford to forget it, right? So please remember it. The 7 PM Mega Integrated Textile Region Apparel PM Mitra Park will be set up at the Greenfield, Brownfield sites located in different willing estates. Now, what do you mean by Greenfield and Brownfield sites? Can you mention it in the comment section? Let's see how many of you do that. Then, proposal of state government having already been contagious and encumbrance-free land parcel of 1,000 acre along with the other textile-related facilities and ecosystem are okay. So this is about the 7 mega integrated park, and let's continue. So for a greenfield PM Mitra Park, the Government of India Development Capital Support will be at 30% of the project cost. For what? For greenfield project, with a cap of 500 crore for the brownfield sites. Okay. Here, the government of India will give 30% of project cost. Means, let's say if the project costs 1,000 crore, the government is going to give 300 crore. If it costs 5,000 crore, the government is going to give 1,500 crore. But for brownfield, it's a cap of 500 crore. So whatever the cost, the cap 500, the government of India is going to give only 500 crore. After assessment, development capital support of 30% at the rate of project cost of balance infrastructure and other support facilities to be developed and restricted to a limit of rupees 200 crore. Got it? State government support will include provision of 1,000 acre land for development of world-class industrial estate. Then competitive incentive support CIS of rupees 300 crore will also be provided to each PM Mitra Park for early establishment of textile manufacturing unit in PM Mitra Park, right? Then such support is crucial for new project under establishment which has not been able to break even and needs support by the government. So very, very important in terms of textile business or merchandise support that government is going to give them through mega industrial parks. Four-tier scale-based regulatory guidelines, right? So see, this is a news article. We will bring out a very detailed video for this soon in our YouTube channel. Okay, so we are going to cover the basic thing here, and rest the detailed video is going to come. It's going to release very soon. A four-layered scale-based approach to regulate non-banking finance company NBFCs in the country will kick from 1st October 2022, means 1 year from now. Okay, to ensure tight oversight of the sector. So RBI has set a limit of rupees 1 crore per borrower for financing subscription to IPO. Okay. The ceiling will come into effect from 1st April 2022. The NBFC sector can fix more conservative limits, the RBI said its preface to new law. Okay. Then see, the top 10 eligible NBFC in terms of asset side will always be in the upper layer irrespective of the other cost. Now, what is upper layer? Let's see. So each NBFC will be, will be put into the four layers. No, put into the each layer. So there would be total four layers in the format. Let's say one, two, three, four. It's like four bucket. Okay. Some NBFC here, some here, some here, some here. Okay, so RBI has released the guidelines of putting the NBFC in this 4 layers. That is what we are looking. Okay, so the top 10 NBFC eligible NBFC in terms of asset size जो सबसे बड़ा है will always be in the upper layer, irrespective of any other factor. Right? जो सबसे बड़े हैं वो top layer पे ही रहेगा. The regulatory structure will comprise 4 layers based on their क्या क्या है size, activity, and perceived risks. The lowest layer will be the base layer, followed by the middle, upper, and tops. Let's say this is top. Okay, this would be base. Then this would be upper. Sorry, this is upper. Then this is middle. Okay, the top layer might remain empty. The RBI. So let's move to the next news article. Paytm 16,600 crore IPO gets SEBI nod. So recently, the Paytm wants to wants to tap the capital market for rupees 16,600 crore IPO, and they want to offer the initial public offer, which SEBI has granted an approval. So this would be the India's biggest IPO. 15,000 crore was raised by the Coal India, right? Raised by the Coal India, and this is way bigger than Coal India's IPO, right? So the IPO comprises a fresh issue of equity shares of rupees 8,000 crore, 8,300 crore, and an offer for sale by existing shareholder of rupees 8,300 crore. Right? So let's move to the next news article, that is Global Agriculture Productivity Report or GAP report. Very important. Global agriculture productivity is not growing as fast as the demand for foods amid the impact of climate change, according to a new report. So, see, this is very concerning. The first line is concerning how the demand for the food is growing, but the demand for agriculture productivity is not, not growing. What does this mean? What does this mean? So this does mean I have 10 chocolates in my pocket, but there are 12 children who are asking for it. It's as simple, right? So the first line is concerning. And you are going to keep the examination of NABARD. This news is very important for you. Okay? Because this type of news is going to help you in interview as well. It will stand out. The total factor productivity, this is called TPF, is growing at an annual rate of 1.36% uh, in 2019. Okay, according to 2021 Global Agriculture Productivity Report (GAP). This is below the Global Agriculture Productivity Index that has set an annual target of 1.73% growth. So the target of 1.73, and this has missed the target and it has only grown 1.36%. Okay, so this is disturbing news. Growth to sustainably meet the needs of consumers for food and bioenergy in 2050. The TFP means total factor productivity is influenced by what? Climate change, weather events, change in fiscal policy, market condition, investment in infrastructure, agriculture research and development. Okay, so this has been influenced by many things. How climate change? Let's see how. So maybe in one part of the world where there is a let's say X type of crop which requires uh, arid climate condition. But due to climate change, nowadays the climatic condition is not pretty arid. So the crop is not going to grow. Hence the growth is going to come down. So these are few reasons, through which the agriculture productivity is getting impacted. Then climate change has already reduced productivity growth globally by 21% since 1961, the report said. In the drier region in Africa, Latin America, climate change has slowed productivity growth as much as 34%. So this is again disturbing since Africa is already, food deprived country, malnourished country, and the decline is 34%. This shows the impact of climate change is way higher than what we can think and imagine. Then the report noted that middle income countries such as India, China, Brazil, erstwhile Soviet republics, continued to have strong TFP growth rates. Okay, India has seen strong TFP output this century. The recent data shown an average annual TFP growth rate of 2.8% and output growth of 3.17% 2010 to 2019. Okay, so when you see the data of our own country, that's look pretty good. Then let's see few more details. However, low income countries, so previously it was middle income countries, low income countries, nearly all agriculture output growths come from the land use change and forest and grassland destruction for cultivation and grazing. Over a result, TFU in low income countries was contracting by an average of 0.31% per year, the report found. Very important. Why? Because the growth comes from the land use change, forest and grassland destruction. Okay, and through destruction, never the positive result can be achieved. Only sustainable measures can give you positive result. Then policy reforms in 1980 and 1990s generated respectively TFP growth in sub-Saharan Africa, according to report. Right? So international report, I mean, the commentary on the international scenario is not important very much for all the report, but for this report, it's important because if you have to compare India with rest of the world, then you should know what is happening in rest of the world, what is concerning rest of the world, what is good in rest of the world. Because if something is good or best in rest of the world, how India stands out in terms of agriculture productivity. So for that comparison, you will have to know what is there in the world scenario. Then high income countries, including those in North America and Europe, showed modest TFP growth according to the report. In the US, agriculture output had increased 36% since 1982 due to the widespread adoption of efficient irrigation and precision agriculture. Right then, The report urged accelerating investment in agriculture R&D to increase and preserve productivity gains, especially from small farmers. Then, it identified six strategies and policies that would create sustainable agriculture growth at all scales of production. You will have to buy heart it. You have no other option. Invest in agriculture research and development, embrace science and information based technologies, improve infrastructure for transportation, information, and finance, cultivate partnership for sustainable agriculture, economic growth, and improve nutrition, expand and improve local, regional, and global trade, reduce post-harvest loss and food waste. Okay. And the data that has been used to make this report is from the United States Department of Agriculture. And this report was released by Virginia Tech College of Agriculture and Life Science in the United States. Right? So the report was released in conjunction with the World Food Prize Foundation annual conference. With this, last we have come to the last news article, that is World Meteorological Congress. The World Meteorological Congress 2021 has endorsed a water declaration including water and climatic collation. Early warnings about floods and drought will be available for people everywhere on the planet by 2030, according to the water declaration endorsed at the ongoing World Meteorological Congress. Right? Then it also approved a new vision and strategy for hydrology and associated plan of action. Very important line. Only 40% of the country globally has operational early flood and drought warning system. Means 60% countries are very rich. So you see in the recent days, uh, the cyclone that is hitting the coast of Orissa, Paradip. Okay, so Paradip is in Orissa, the West Bengal coast. If the IMD is not alerting this, then the recent in Mumbai, the IMD is already alerting. The NDRF team is evacuating people. If not done on time, there would be loss of life and loss of infrastructure. Right? Some 60% of the WMO members countries lack hydrological monitoring capabilities. Okay, so globally, more than 1 3 billion people have no quality management system for their water related data in place. Some 107 countries are not on track to have sustainably managed water resources. Right, so this is also a disturbing news. With this, we have come to the end of this lecture. We wish you very good luck for your upcoming examination. Thank you from the team Craig Grade B.